Hey everyone, this is Nathan Williams with BlackIron79.com. I'm back here with another hand history review for you guys. So today's hand was sent to me by Jeremy. He played this hand at the PokerStars Euro tables. You can see here it's 2 euro cent, 5 euro cent blinds. And he was dealt the old ace 10 of clubs on the button, so let's just jump right into the action. So villain 12 comes in for a 3x raise from the middle position. This is a 6 max game, as you guys can see. And he's going to be the main sort of villain in this hand. So let me just get to the HUD data on that guy right away. So 158 hands. And Jeremy told me this guy's playing a 32-23-4. Now it's VPIP, PFR, and aggression factor. As I always say, if you guys don't know what those mean, if it sounds like I'm talking Chinese to you right now, those are HUD stats that you can get those on your poker table, and it basically gives you an idea of what kind of player type you're up against. Very, very useful when you're especially multi-tabling online poker. So I'll leave a link in the description below, and you guys can go see how you can get those stats on your table. Basically, what a 32-23-4 tells me is that this guy is a loose, aggressive player. Extremely important to know. That's why I'm such a big fan of using a HUD whenever it's possible when you're playing online poker, because it's just going to help us so much in understanding how to play this hand better on, as you guys are going to see later on in this hand. So a loose, aggressive player. So this is a guy who's opening a lot of hands. This is a guy who we expect to be betting quite frequently after the flop. So let's keep that in mind as we go throughout this hand. So villain 8 folds, and Jeremy once again has ace 10 of clubs on the button there, so I'm pretty much just a fan of just flatting in a spot like this. Jeremy agrees, and the reason why is because I think that if we 3-bet here, we're kind of just overplaying our hand. We're kind of only going to get calls from better hands most of the time, better aces, overpairs, aces, kings, queens, stuff like that. And we're also folding out all of the hands that we do dominate. I mean, this is a loose, aggressive player once again, so he is going to be playing hands like ace-9 suited, ace-8 suited, stuff like that we dominate. I don't want to fold out those hands, you know, so I see a 3-bet with a hand like this as kind of being a lose-lose situation for us. We're only getting action from better and folding out all worse, so I highly agree with Jeremy's decision here, especially in position. We're on the button, remember. As definitely the best play in this spot. So the 2 blinds, the small blind decides to come along. Villain 9 doesn't play a key role in this hand, so I'm not going to bother with any stats on that guy. So we go to the flop here, catch a pretty good flop, of course. Flop top pair with a good kicker and the backdoor nut flush draw. So let's see how the action plays out. So Villain 9 checks out of the small blind, and Villain 12, who's the pre-flop raiser, he decides to make what looks to be about a 60% of the pot c-bet. So what should we do here? I kind of think this situation is pretty similar, to be honest, to pre-flop, where there's not really a whole lot of benefit to be gained by raising. We're obviously never folding, so I definitely think that a call is the correct decision here, so I'm totally on board with how Jeremy is playing this hand once again through to the turn here. Turn comes with a 9 of hearts, so that's bringing in the backdoor heart draw now. And Villain 12 decides to bet again, 70% of the pot this time. So what should we do in a spot like this? Well, as I've talked about many, many times with player types in the past in my videos, my blog, and in my books, this is an absolutely crucial point in the hand where player type is so important. And against a typical sort of nit at these stakes, somebody who's a tight passive or a tight aggressive player, I would typically be looking to make a fold at this point, because I think that they're only going to be barreling with better aces, sets, 2 pairs, stuff like that. So, however, as we mentioned in this hand, we are up against a loose aggressive player in this hand, so I expect him to have a much wider range. I think he can be in here with plenty of draws, even some worse aces in cases he can be barreling here. And he could just be on a complete airball as well. So while I do think it's close here on the turn, I don't think this is a slam dunk call by any means. I think it's okay, definitely against this player type, to continue on versus a double barrel. Now, the Queen of Hearts comes on the river there, which brings in the backdoor hearts. Other than that, the Queen doesn't really change anything, because if he had a hand like Ace-Queen, he was already ahead of us anyways. So other than the backdoor hearts, nothing really changes on the river. So Villain 12 decides to come in for the triple barrel. Okay, now this definitely changes things a lot, guys, because at the lower stakes, quite frankly, in my experience of having played millions of hands at these stakes, there are I can count on one hand how many players probably that I've seen that are capable of triple barreling as a complete bluff, unless they're on insane tilt, but we have no information to suggest that in this hand. In my experience at the micros, when people are triple barreling, even loose aggressive players, they almost always have it. And it doesn't mean they've got aces or something. It just means that they've got a really strong hand. They've got something that beats ace-10. Let me put it that way. Okay, so and one other crucially important point to consider here is the bet sizing on the river here that Villain has used. I think that's roughly about 40% of the pot that he's bet, and that just reeks of value. Like, I think that a lot of times when people are going for the big bluff, they're going to bet something like 70% of the pot to give you a real decision to fold a hand, where when somebody's just betting 40% of the pot, I think that's what it is. That's just a please call me, I'm trying to get value type of bet to me. That just totally screams that. So in my opinion, I do not think we can ever call here. I don't think we can profitably call here. I mean, we obviously could hit the call button, but I don't think that's a good decision. So what I'd normally consider doing in this spot, I would suggest just folding. However, there is one other option that I did not mention there, and Jeremy was thinking about this option, and that's to do that, to go all in. Now, the only question is this a good raise or not? Well, I'm going to say that it's definitely the jury is out here. What I would normally, if I'm going to consider doing a kind of a very advanced play like this, which is basically turning top pair into a bluff, this is something you don't normally see until mid or high stakes, because this, quite frankly, this play only works against really high level thinking opponents. And remember, we're playing NL5 here. You don't find high level thinking opponents at these stakes. These are the stakes where if somebody's got, a lot of times just ace king here, they're like, oh my God, I call. Like I can't lay it down. And a lot of times it's because it's like $5 or €5 in this case, which is like a cup of coffee for most people. And they're just not going to lay it down. These players are recreational players. They don't like to fold. So typically at these stakes, I'm not a fan of this kind of play. However, if we have some data that I talk about the went to showdown statistic a lot for if you're using a HUD. I would say in a 6-max game, I'm looking for somebody around 25 or less for went to showdown percentage. That tells me that they're fairly tight. They're possibly able to make the big fold, is basically what I'm getting at here. So however, Jeremy did not supply any information on that stat for me. So with all of that said, the stakes that we're playing here, without knowing anything about this guy that he's capable of making the big fold, I'm going to say that this is not a decision that I would typically make here. And I'm not sure that this is going to be a profitable bluff for us in the long run at these stakes without a clear read that this is the kind of player that can make the fold. However, let's get to the results of this specific hand here so you guys can see how this played out. So Villain 12 does in fact make the fold in this spot. And as Jeremy points out to me in the email, he does not muck his cards. He proudly shows the ace-queen. And of course, when Jeremy tabled the ace-10, he wrote to me that he proceeded to rage quit the table when he sees my ace-10 suited. And those little moments in life are precious. You gotta learn to cherish them. So, hey, Jeremy, great bluff here. It clearly worked out incredibly well in this spot. You got a guy to lay down 2-pair, which is pretty crazy at these stakes. The only thing that of course, that I'm concerned with in poker, as I always talk about, is the process. I'm not interested so much in individual hands. I'm more interested in, I run this play at NL5 100 times versus 100 different villains. I think it's probably a losing play in the long run against the players at these stakes, without any information that they're capable of making a big fold. In a vacuum at these stakes, I'm not typically a fan of a play like this. However, it clearly worked out in this spot, so, what do I know? So I'd be interested in your guys' thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about this play? Clearly it's a very, very creative play. This is one of the most interesting hands, so thanks a lot for sending me this hand, Jeremy, by the way, as well, because I don't normally get hands that are this interesting that people send to me. So Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you like this bluff? Is this something that you do regularly in your games? And what if so, what are your results at the micros with plays like this? Do you think that you're getting people to fold most of the time, or do you think that you're going to get called here too often to make this for this to be a profitable play? So that's all I got for this hand, guys. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy seeing hand history reviews like this and strategy videos for the micros in general. And lastly, make sure you download my free ebook. It's the top link in the description. It's a 50-page free guide that will give you my overall strategy on how I beat these stakes. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. It's been Nathan Williams with BlackCurrant79.com.